All right, what is up, listeners of the 24/7 podcast? Hey, my name's Tyler. I got Gage, and we have a special guest with us today. Why don't you introduce yourself? So, what's your name? Where are you from? Why are you on this podcast? What's your favorite food?
I love lasagna. No, I'm just kidding. Inside joke. My name's Caleb. Caleb Brooks. I am a family of Gage. I've kind of been around, Granbury for a little while, for a couple years. Came and spoke at your guys' event in the winter, the conference, the high school conference. We saw you guys at camp, just kind of random things here and there. We come in town for vacation because our in-laws live close. But I'm a youth pastor in Ohio as well, and so we kind of do the same stuff. But yeah, so that's me, I guess.
Let's go.
Quick nutshell.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, so Caleb's with us. We're really excited about that. The conversation we're going to have today actually got sparked earlier this week. I went to an event at the high school, and I noticed something. So before I get into it, it's really just about the strategy of sharing our faith. There was a presenter who asked the question, hey, we know it's important to share our faith. What's our strategy? And she was talking to tons of believers, a ton of Christian students who took the time to go to this class. And when she asked that question, the room fell silent. Like, we've never considered having a strategy before. So I was like, man, we need to talk about this, why it's important to have a strategy. But just to give you why it's important, we play basketball. All three of us are kind of into basketball. If I was to play a basketball game and I have an opponent, I can just show up and play against them and see how it goes, right? Or I can have a strategy. I want to know if you're left-handed or right-handed, if you're a shooter or if you're a down-low player. I want to have a strategy of how I'm going to win, right? And that strategy is really, really important. Like, if I'm guarding Steph Curry, I don't want to just leave him wide open at the three-point line. And if I'm guarding Shaq, I do want him wide open at the three-point line. I don't want him close to the goal, right? There's a strategy in place in order to be successful. So when we're talking about sharing our faith and sharing the gospel in the schools, do you think it's important to have a strategy? What do y'all think?
Yeah. I would say it's definitely important, especially the basketball reference that you made, just because if you don't have a strategy, you can't win. And not necessarily that we're trying to win, but we're trying to win people over to Jesus. And if you don't, then you're just going to be like, I'm not going to talk about it. And you're just going to go talk about random stuff like we were just talking about fantasy football. You're going to be just talking about fantasy football or whatever it is. So I do think it's important to have a strategy. Do you guys have a specific strategy that you go to?
Yeah. Well, I love that question. I think that question's legit. As a person who, we're all involved in church. And I think even for myself, of just being honest, we kind of preach that. It's like, go invite your friends and tell your friends about Jesus and do all that kind of stuff. But I think sometimes we fail them by not helping them be practical in, hey, these are ways that I do it, or these are ways that you can do it. You know what I mean? And I think honestly everybody is different, and everybody can do in different ways and can use your strength. I think that's where it comes down to the body of Christ being having different strengths and weaknesses, right? So we're all different. Everybody who's here in this audience.
Big audience out here today.
No, but everybody who's watching is, we all have specific things for us. And so I love the sports reference because I think we go into anything else other than our faith when we go into life and we have like a strategy, like even school. Like, we wake up in the morning and I've got my routine, I've got my plan, I've got my lunch made. Like, when I go to work, I make my lunch, for the day or whatever, XYZ, especially sports. Like, you have a plan, you have a playbook, you have a coach that coaches you. But our faith, we're just like, hey, just go invite your friends.
Yeah, whatever it's on.
And you fall flat, really.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lack of that intentionality and I think that's probably one of the things that, we can talk about this, I guess, a little bit more, but I think that's one of the things that where we fail and where I think our congregation, and honestly, we're in this together. It's not like we're up here telling you guys, hey, we're better than you because this is what we do. It's more of this is where we fail because even me growing up, it was hard for me to practically visualize and see how could I do that, and who's going to listen to me, you know what I mean, and all this stuff. Looking back now, I can see, wow, I had all these opportunities and I just didn't take them because I was stupid, you know what I mean? I just didn't see the opportunity there. But because we don't have a plan and we don't feel confident in it. And honestly, that was the biggest thing for me growing up, when I really started sharing the gospel, not necessarily even my faith, but started sharing the gospel like intentionally, seriously. Like, it took me falling on my face so many times and honestly messing up and honestly just making a fool of myself, like, wow, I'm never going to say that again. Or, do whatever with different people and all this kind of stuff. It took so many of those times, but it took reps. Yeah. And those reps is what helped at least me have confidence in knowing that, okay,
to get to that point.
This is at least where I'm going to go, or this is where I know I'm going to go. Right. I'm going to start here. I have no idea how I'm going to get there, and we can talk about strategy, I guess, but that's at least, it just took reps, I guess, for me. But
I guess, Tyler, how would you, I guess, go about getting reps? Because if you just are like, I just got saved, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so when I think about my strategy, right, and how do I get reps, I want to invite God into every single opportunity that might present itself. So, for example, if I'm going to go to McDonald's after this, and let's say I'm going to go through the drive-thru, I'm going to ask myself, what is he most likely going to say to me, and how can I respond in a gospel conversation, right? So I want to have that strategy in place before I ever get to McDonald's. Like, before I leave here, which I'm not going to McDonald's tonight, just for the record. I'm not.
Big Mac.
Yeah, but if I was, right now, I'm going to make a strategy. He's going to ask me a question about my order, and then I'm going to tell him my order, and then I'm going to get to the window. He's going to tell me my total. And then regardless to how that conversation goes, I'm going to say, what can I do to either encourage him, or even, man, the last time I was at McDonald's, this is not, lifting myself up. This is, praise God, that I had that mindset going in. But I got to the window and said, hey, have you ever been to Montgomery Baptist before? He was like, yeah, man, I actually did, like, several years ago, back when I went to the youth group and Andrew Perez was there. I'm like, dude, Andrew Perez.
That's cool.
Like, he is actually in town. He's a missionary to the Philippines, but he's in town right now. You should come up and say hi. Come to church this Sunday. Mm-hmm. So it gave me an opportunity to invite a guy in a drive-through window to church, but that only happened because 5 minutes prior to me going to McDonald's, there was a strategy in place.
Right.
So when it comes to getting reps in, before I do anything, I'm like, God, give me a strategy. Give me an opportunity. And then right now, I'm going to make a strategy. I'm going to go to Walmart. The cashier's going to, and I don't want to go self-checkout. I want to go talk to a human being. And then what can I do to get that rep in?
Yeah.
How can I transform the conversation?
I think kind of both of what you guys are saying is kind of similar. But to go with you guys is just being intentional about sharing the gospel. Because if it's important to you, Tyler, you say this all the time, but if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So yeah, Tyler says it all the time. I have to hear it all the time.
It's definitely my favorite quote.
So if you're not intentional about sharing the gospel, you're never going to do it. You're not going to try to get reps in and try to practice because you're just going to be like, oh, I don't really care about that. It's on the back burner and stuff. So for me, it took a lot of like spending time with God and also just praying, like present an opportunity for me. So then I could try to take the opportunity. At least I was thinking about it. And a lot of times when I did pray for that, it was more obvious than just like, all right, I'm going to have a strategy when I go to McDonald's or something. It was more like it was brought up in conversation, so it's like super easy for me just to tell them about the gospel or whatever it was, or invite them to church. So being intentional, I think, is really important.
Yeah, if your strategy is, if my friend says, how do I get saved, and I'm going to have an answer ready, great. You're gonna get one person in the next 5 years. Like, it's just not a good working strategy. Let me ask y'all
Probably
this.
never.
So for both of y'all, I think the number one thing I hear the most from students, and maybe y'all can agree or disagree, is I'm afraid that I won't know all the answers. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start sharing my faith. They're going to ask a question. I'm going to be deer in the headlights. I'm going to have no idea what to say. Deer in the headlights might be a Texas term.
Nope.
I know Ohio. Yeah. So we have deer here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We have a lot of deer in Ohio.
Oh yeah.
Oh, big deer.
Oh, look at that.
They got Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Those are nuts.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. The Ohio State Buckeyes. Here we go. Yeah, my family would be proud. All right. Anyway, what was I even talking about? Oh yeah, people.
Deer.
Yeah, like people. they're like, man, I just don't know what to say. What
I
do
don't
y'all
have
say
the
to those
answers.
people who
Yeah.
they just fall back into this, like, even if I have a strategy, what if they ask a question, I don't know the answer, and then they get afraid? What do y'all say to that?
It's good.
Do you have the answers?
Yeah, so I think one thing is like, number one is knowing that I don't think you're ever going to know all the answers, right? And honestly, just understanding that and knowing that and being okay with that, because that is a big thing. I think that was one of the things that I really fought with growing up, and just kind of like, man, I don't know what to say. How do I, I just don't know enough, and I don't, my Bible knowledge, maybe I'll go to Bible school and then I'll start inviting or whatever, you know what I mean? And those are all excuses just to be able to put it off, and eventually you're never gonna know enough. I mean, there's theologians that don't know enough, right?
Sure,
Yeah, I mean, I just taught our lesson today, and I felt like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like there's always something that you can grow in, right? But the point is that you're going for it. I think one thing for the people who don't know, there was a person that I thought of I had an old job. I used to work at a gym, and there was this guy. I don't remember his name. Let's say his name's Tony. Tony came in, and Tony was a brilliant person. Definitely not a faith person at all. Like, he was a devout atheist, like hated God. He had this friend, this older guy. His name was Mike. I do remember his name. Mike and Tony, whatever. Mike was this older dude, and they talked to each other super funny, super weird. They almost got on each other like father-son kind of thing. Well, Mike was a Christian, quote unquote. And he would always like banter this guy, like, see, if you believed in God, you wouldn't have gone through that or whatever, all this stuff. Well, anyway, something came out. I don't know how the first conversation came up with this guy, but anyway, it was kind of during the time where I was kind of starting to like really be intentional about talking to people about Jesus and stuff. And this dude was one of the guys who like did not believe at all and had every question and every like, yeah, but what about this? Or hey, how do you about this? And I think that was honestly so good for me at like a young age, just trying to like honestly just grow in that way, because I didn't know all the answers. And I think sometimes we think that we lose when we don't know the answer. Like, we have to know it all. And you don't lose. Because honestly, we're not putting out that we have all the answers. Like, we're fallen people, we're imperfect people, saved by grace, right? Honestly, that sheds light on the gospel even more, the fact that I don't know enough and God still chooses to save me and to love me and chooses to die for me, right? But that helped me so much because I didn't know all the answers, and he kept coming back, and we kept talking about it. And I can't even tell you how many times we talked about it.
Right.
Like, dozens and dozens of times, because I'd be working, he's working out, and we would talk for hours. Like, he would stay for hours, and we would sit there on like a treadmill, and just like I'm leaning on a treadmill, and we're just talking, and we're just kind of like a friendship growing and just talking about random stuff. I honestly have no idea if he ever got saved. I would love to know that. I never got the opportunity to lead him to that, but that was good for me, like growing up, and that was just understanding and knowing that, hey, I don't have all the answers. Yeah. But there were times that I came back and I said, hey, I don't know that, but I'm going to ask somebody. And then, the next day when I saw him, we talked about it. You know what I mean? I don't know, but we'll look it up and we'll figure it out together. So there's a little bit of, I think it's good for people to see that you don't know all the answers, because sometimes like Christians are like, hit your head over with the Bible and like, hey, do the right thing kind of thing. And honestly, like, if you just meet people where you are, because that's like, honestly what Jesus did for us. Now, Jesus didn't have all the answers, but like, if we just meet people where they're at, and it's okay to not know everything and have them understand that, oh, wow, this person like doesn't know all the answers, but still they're choosing to follow you. That says a lot. That says a lot, rather than the opposite of, oh, hey, I know all the answers and I was taught everything, and so you should follow Jesus too, right? It's really the opposite. It's like, hey, I don't know, but I'm still choosing to trust Jesus with my life, right? Even though I don't know, what this verse or whatever this is saying here and all those things. So that's something I had. But
yeah, that's good. I think the story that I think about all the time is just what, we talked about it before, but when Andrew got to invite the guy to church just because he saw a similar shirt, so he was just meeting that guy where he was, saw his shirt, saw something they had in common, and was like, hey, come to church with me, whatever. And then That was it, and he got to come to church, got saved. So I think that's really important. What are you like? So I'll go through. Tyler, you can go first. So your specific strategy that you tend to go to for people that are like you don't know, strangers, and then Caleb will do one that you can talk about, like a strategy for people that you know, because I think that would be, those two are definitely different. I think talking to strangers about that kind of, it's not as scary for some reason, at least to me. Like, I feel like if I had to talk to someone like that I know, like it's a friend or family member or whatever, it gets infinitely harder. So how would you guys go about doing those things?
Yeah, so ironically for me, it'd be the opposite. So strangers are hard for me.
Okay.
Mainly because I feel like I don't know how to start the conversation sometimes. But like I said, if I go to, I keep saying like going to like these random places. Y'all are gonna think I'm like a pig, man.
Okay.
Now, I was about to say Chili's out loud. Like,
right.
how many restaurants can I name on this podcast? But if I was to go like talk to the waiter or something, I think there's some easy, and we went to Hofbrau not long ago, and the youth pastor at Stonewater, Max, he did something that I thought was really cool. It's just an easy segue in. The waitress came up and he said, "Hey, we're going to pray for our food like we always do. Do you have any prayer requests?"
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, that just started a conversation, right?
That.
So she was like, actually, I'm in college. And then we were able to pray over her.
That's awesome.
So that was such an easy segue in. I think there's so many easy segues in with strangers.
Right.
Do you have a faith? What do you believe in? And then, man, I got urgency tattooed on my arm as the gospel conversation started, right? I want somebody to ask me. Someone asked me this morning, "Why do you have urgency tattooed on your arm?" "Oh, it's to let you know that we're living in urgent times and I need to be urgent about telling you about Jesus." Well, guess what? We're in. Conversation has started with a stranger, right? So
They can't back out too because they asked you.
they asked. I didn't start the conversation. They're the ones that want to know, right?
Yeah.
So
They're like, "Okay, cool, bye." They just leave.
Good talk, yeah.
ooh, why did I ask that? Yeah. Yeah, but no, I think there's definitely strategies in place that are very simple, really as easy as, "Can I pray for you?" And then there's a reality that God wants to save them more than you want to save them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think a lot of times, even when we feel like we don't know the answers, or what if I start this conversation, we put so much pressure on ourselves. And I think about the Great Commission, and a lot of people know the middle of the Great Commission, that we are going to baptize people in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teach people to obey everything He's commanded. But it starts with all authority on heaven and earth has been given to Jesus. Therefore, we don't have a say in this. Like, the God who created everything, Jesus, who came to earth, lived a perfect life, died on a cross, rose again, says that He has all authority and this is what you do. But I think what we miss is the very last sentence, "And I will be with you always to the very end of the age." You don't have to know the answers. God's with you. And God wants them saved more than you do. Yeah. So it's not like you're going to a stranger and having a conversation. You're like, "Man, where's this going to go?" As intimidating as that might be, the God of the universe is on your side in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes everything. That changes your perspective.
Right.
That's good. I love that.
So what would you say? Would you approach it the same way if it's someone that you know really well?
Yeah.
Like a family member? Because I think for me, it would be hard to tell a family member just like, "Yeah, here's this." And I don't know why that is. It probably is because they know you more. Mm-hmm. So like they know what you've done, if you messed up before, if you've done this or whatnot. So.
And if they disagree, it's awkward.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you have to see them at Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So. What would you say? What would you say? How would you do it?
So it's funny because I'm the opposite. It's easier for me to have conversations with a random than it is with somebody who I know.
Dude, we should have switched roles on this
Yeah,
question.
should have switched.
But it's good, challenging. I'd say, okay. So I'll go back to just an instance that happened at least at one point in my life. I was talking to my cousin one time, and I was very intimidated by it because, again, same thing. Like, this person knows me.
Right.
They know what I've been through, I've gone through. They know how I was raised. They know my parents. You know what I mean? So it's kind of easy for them to kind of chalk up, well, of course you believe that. You know what I mean? You were raised this way. So I think there is a different challenge of knowing at least where I'm going to start and at least where I'm going to end. Now, when sharing the gospel, if I know for a fact this person is not saved, then a question that I would usually ask is, hey, and we talked about the other day, is rate on a scale from 1 to 10. And I would do this with somebody I would randomly met or with
Someone you know.
Someone I know. Scale 1 to 10. If you believe in heaven and hell, right? Me and you, we probably believe in heaven and hell. 1 to 10, if you're going to go to heaven, like how much you would rate your scale if you're going to heaven?
Right.
Well, if there is anything less than a 9, usually they'll rate, well, I'm a pretty good person. I could say a 7. I go to church on Sundays, maybe an 8, 9, whatever. Well, anything short of a 10, as we know the gospel is, right? We're saved by grace through faith in Jesus Christ, right? If we have Romans 10:9, we believe, confess, we are saved. We have a relationship with Jesus. If we know that, and we have a relationship with him, and we know that we're living in his grace and in his love, and we are born again, there's no other answer than the 10, right? Mm-hmm. There's no other answer. And that is just an easy, get into the conversation. Where it goes from there is all kinds of different ways. Well, I was raised this way, and this person said this about something, and well, my aunt or my mom tells me this, and blah, 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 blah. Well, what have you done in your life? Have you repented from your sin? Right? And so, honestly, similar to how I would talk to a stranger, it's just getting to that point, right? I might honestly get to that point a little bit faster if it's somebody I know, or, we're sitting around Thanksgiving dinner meal, and it's, hey, how are you? You know what I mean? That's usually how I would do it, is, hey, how are you? And how's life going? And how could I pray for you, right? Is a good one. And then, hey, you know what? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you go to church on Sundays? How's church going? And then it's kind of get to the point. It's like, hey, do you know if you're saved or not? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, heaven, hell, then you hit the heaven, hell thing. And then you can present the gospel. And I always go to, again, very similar to how I would talk to somebody is Romans Road. Mm-hmm. I just so that's where I know where I'm going to end. At least is I'm going to present the gospel. I know that I'm going to present the gospel. And Romans Road is just how I grew up doing it and how I know how to do it. It's easy for me. And I guess you could talk about that at a different one. But getting to that point, asking those questions, hey, you know what another one is really good that I would do is if let's just say tragically, you die tonight.
Right.
On the way home, you get in a car accident, which is very possible. Right, sadly, it's very possible, and you're at the gates of heaven, and you're. This is just theoretically, your gates of heaven, and God's standing at the gate, and He says, "Hey, what have you done here on earth for me to let you in? What have you done?" Most people say, "Well, I've lived a good life. I went to church on Sundays. Right. I do good things. I blah 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 blah. Do is what it comes down to." And again, there is nothing short of us putting our faith in Jesus that gets us to heaven. Nothing, right? And so, honestly, helping them understand, even if they might be saved, but they just maybe that's a detail that they missed, or it's like, wow, I needed to hear that, right? That's a good thing to talk about for somebody that I know, for my cousin, for my friends, for my whatever. That's a good thing for them to know, because most people aren't usually interacted with a question like that. I do like that one a lot, because it makes you, and it gets straight to the point. It's like, all right, well, your faith in Jesus is what matters, and then boom, Romans Road kind of thing is what I would go through. Yeah. So. And
I think those are both simple things to do, especially Romans Road. Like, if you are saved, I would encourage you to know that, because it's pretty simple to walk someone through, and it's straightforward. It's the gospel. So you're getting every point across. Yeah. But yeah, so I think we talked about having a plan. I mean, you have to have a strategy. We talked about being intentional, meeting people where they are. And then you talked about your 2 different strategies for whatever scenario it is, but having a goal in mind, like our strategy of like where you're going to finish, so you can share Romans Road or whatever that may be. Yeah. But that's all for this podcast. What do you guys have anything else?
Yeah, let me just give you this. I want to give you a very easy strategy right now. Tomorrow, go ask 3 people, how can I pray for you? Yeah. Boom, check. There's your strategy, right? That's your conversation starter. Yeah. Now, they might say, hey, actually, I don't believe in that stuff. Well, now you have Romans Road. Now you have that. They might say, hey, man, actually, I attend church all the time. I have my church family. They're praying for this for me. Would you also join in prayer? Well, guess what? Now you get to pray for somebody. Right. Like, might be a believer already. That's awesome, too. And then I think, even as we talk about strategies, We, like at the beginning, we joked around, but if I'm guarding Steph Curry, I'm not letting him shoot a three. If I'm guarding Shaq, I'm going to let him shoot a three. That just shows that your strategy changes for different people. There are some people that my strategy is very different for. There's some people I want to appeal to their logic because they're just like, I don't believe in a 6,000-year Earth. I think it was 6 billion years old. This is what science says. Okay, well now my bend is I like to debate people. So hey, throw the Bible at me. Let's see if you know more than me. Like, and that's probably pride. I should probably confess that a little bit, but I'm here for it, right? Yeah. So I like that. But what if somebody just lost their mom? Okay, that's a different strategy. Okay, we're not talking about why we know God exists. We're now talking about, did you know that He still loves you through that? That He's there for you. That Satan is real and he hates you, and he's excited that your mom died, but God loves you and He's here for the brokenhearted. So your strategy just changed. So knowing the situation that you're in. So when you're talking to people that you know, man, what's their holdback of being a believer?
Yeah,
that is what you need to attack. Yeah. Right? If their holdback is they believe in science, okay, well, let's talk about that. If their holdback is why would a good God let evil happen? Well, that's our direction of strategy, right? Mm-hmm. So just knowing your strategy going into those conversations.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
I'd say just to echo your tattoo is just the urgency on it. Honestly, I think it is something that we have to be. We need to be intentional about. Mm-hmm. So I love this conversation and talking about it and kind of getting that out there. And hopefully this maybe starts something where we're really talking about practical ways and then sharing, hey, this is where I won. This is where I failed. And again, it's okay to fail. I think that's one thing is understanding, knowing you're going to go into it, you're going to fall on your face. That's okay. Again, you walk into a situation, you say, hey, how can I pray for you? And then you get into debating or talking or just having a relationship with this person. That's the thing, is you're opening a door to a relationship. Mm-hmm. But that's the most beautiful part about it, and where Jesus is truly seen through it is through a relationship, right? And that's what He did with His disciples and with so many people. But I will say one last thing is when I was in school, something I was just remembered was they would say in this evangelism class that I took, they said, practice. So an elevator conversation. So you have 90 seconds to share the gospel with somebody. What would you do? Right? Yeah. And that's a kind of a good exercise to do, to think
Business
about.
pitch.
Like, how would I, in 90 seconds, get to the point fast enough for somebody to be able to be like, whoa, all right, that's the gospel in a nutshell, right? You know? Right. And so that's just something that I thought of. And so for me, that's kind of, again, I go to the Romans room for that. But again, just to boil it down to the urgency of it and the intentionality of it, it is very real. It is very real. And so I think we should all have some kind of, hey, I've got this in my mind. I don't know how this conversation is going to go, but I've got these things ready. They're just in filing cabinet, and I just pull it out. You know what I mean? I'm ready for it. And then prayer, like you said, prayer, man. Just go into every day and being intentional about, God, you're going to give me people today that I'm going to be able to talk to, that I'm going to be able to have a conversation with, and just put me in the right place. Put me in the right place. Let me be used. Let me just be a vessel for you. So, yeah.
Well, be intentional, guys, when you're sharing the gospel. Do your 3 people tomorrow. Ask who you can pray for. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Love you guys. Peace.